Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to a brand new episode of IELTS Writing Wednesdays. Let's see what we have here. It's a natural process for animal species to become extinct, such as dinosaurs and dodos. There is no reason why people should try to prevent this from happening. Do you agree or disagree? Fairly standard opinion essay question. Now here you need to figure out which side you're on. Do you agree with this statement that basically animals will die anyway? There will be certain species that will just stop existing and that's natural and that we don't need to bother. Do you think that's the case, or do you think we should be, protecting animals and helping them increase their populations? Um, I would say, I think actually we have a responsibility to ensure that they don't die out entirely. Of course, like with dodos, as far as I remember, I think it was because of all of the, people were discovering new lands, and humans, they carry with them, certain diseases, or they're the animals that they carry with them. So I think that's actually why the dodo became extinct. I don't know. I think it was because of cats. I mean, I could be wrong. Anyway, that was like going off on a tangent. Okay. So there's no reason why people should try to prevent this from happening. I disagree. I think it's also good for humanity to try and preserve all these animals because we benefit from it, actually. You might think, for example, that it would be great if mosquitoes just stopped existing, but it would actually cause many problems. So that, delicate balance is really important to preserve, to keep, in that cycle that, okay, you've got certain. Anyway, that's like going off into a tangent again. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first, as usual, if you watched a couple videos, you already know where this is headed. I'm gonna have my main ideas, my supporting ideas, and I'll have two sets of those. Now, first, because I disagree, I mean, yes, it's death is natural, extinction is natural, but we can take steps to, slow it down or even prevent it. And we have been successful in doing this as well with panda populations, tiger populations, so many. There's also a snow leopard preservation thing going on. So, yeah. Now I need to create a main idea. Well, two main idea sentences. There's no reason why we should prevent this from happening. Do you agree? Okay, well, I disagree. I think people should prevent this from happening. I think it's a good thing to preserve animals. I think I'm gonna start with my second sentence, actually. I think humanity has a responsibility. We're the most powerful species on Earth. The smartest, the most intelligent, right? But that doesn't mean that you take advantage of or abuse other species, right? I think we are here to actually take care, as shepherds of all of these life forms. So humanity has a responsibility or duty of care. You could use a phrase like that. That's a nice phrase. Has a responsibility toward other species on the planet. We're not the only people. We're not the only people on the planet. I mean, we're the only people, but we're not the only species on the planet. Planet Earth does not only belong to human beings. Although sometimes, some people feel that way. Humanity has a responsibility toward other species on the planet. It is beneficial for the human race to ensure the continued survival of as many animal and plant species, or many, let's just say, wildlife, as much wildlife as possible. It's a very delicate cycle to ensure the continued survival of as much wildlife as possible. Humanity has a responsibility. Our intelligence shouldn't be used to abuse, but protect. We have had success as well. I don't know, this is kind of a vague sentence. Maybe I'll change it because sometimes what can happen is you write a main idea sentence and then you feel like, oh no, I don't really have enough content based off this main idea sentence. So you can always change your main idea sentence. You know, no one, I mean, especially if we're taking a computer based exam, it's just, that's it, one button away. Okay, but let me just think though. I do like this sentence, but just because I like this sentence doesn't mean that I have to be so attached to it that I, jeopardize my entire essay. So I like the second one. Here I can write quite a bit. We have, the food chain is delicate. And, like it's this huge thing that even I don't really know that well, but you don't need to know anything in detail to write a good essay. You just need to know some basics. The food chain is delicate. We need to maintain, all this, and diversity, is good for the planet, and every form of life, deserves to exist and thrive. But then when I say it is beneficial for the human race, this is a focal point. So this idea really is not related. And the second idea is just tangentially related. So it's so important to think about the quality of your ideas. What a lot of people do is they just submit their first effort, their first set of ideas, their first draft, and that is just about the worst thing you could possibly do. Because even as I write, right, that's why I broadcast my writing process so you can see what it's really like, because I have to keep thinking while I'm writing as well. Just because I wrote some things here doesn't mean I'm done. I still have to check, is it relevant? Is it on topic? Is it appropriate? So don't be afraid of, deleting stuff. Don't be afraid of having to write something, an idea, supporting idea, main idea twice, maybe even thrice. It's okay. In fact, if you spend more time planning, you'll have less of a problem when you start writing, your sentences, when you start creating your essay, because for me personally, the writing part is quick and easy. It doesn't take much time. It's the idea generation where I personally spend more time, because the quality of your content does determine, what kind of score you get. So let me see. I think that we should. The main idea says it's good for the human race. The food chain is delicate, and, each animal plays an important role. And if this is not maintained, it could lead to, for example, issues such as temperature changes, or, destruction of other animals, or, flora and fauna. Like I said, if I read this somewhere that if all mosquitoes were to be extinct tomorrow, the global temperature would increase by 1.5 degrees or something like that. So, because like you have, for example, you might think, okay, let's take something like deer. Okay, if there were no deer in the world tomorrow, what would the lions eat? And if there's no lions, if the lions die out because they have no food source, and the population will just massively, increase. And what do deer eat? They're herbivores, right? So they eat grasses and shrubs and all of that. That could cause farming and agricultural losses, and that would cause problems for human beings. So you see, it's a very sensitive chain. One tiny thing can set off a major reaction. Them changes around the flora fauna ultimately exist and thrive to ensure a balance on Earth. I think this is good now. It's fine. Okay. Humanity has a responsibility to our species. We need to protect and not abuse other animal forms. We have had success, yeah. Programs have been successful in the past, such as pandas and leopards, snow leopards, so many things. So why not? Ultimately, in our own, you know what? Here, ultimately, it is beneficial for the human race, or it is in humanity's best interest. In humanity's best interest. Either one is fine. My problem is that I've already used humanity here. So I don't necessarily want to repeat the same word choice or phrasing in the main idea sentences just because it's so, visible. The attention of the reader is drawn to four parts of your essay. The first paragraph, which is the introduction, your two main ideas, which is, sentence number one in each body paragraph, and at the very end, the conclusion. So these four places, this is where you really want to be careful not to, repeat content, not to be overly repetitive. So here, maybe, for example, you can change, humanity to the human race. It's perfectly, there you go, so simple. Right? So you can use either one, it's fine. Just make sure if you use humanity here, then you don't use humanity here. If you use the human race here, then don't use the human race. Programs have been successful. The focus is responsibility. Why do we have a responsibility? Because we have power. We're the most intelligent animal species on the planet. That intelligence has to be used for good things, for, not for destructive agendas, right? So our intelligence shouldn't be used to abuse, but to protect animals. We have had success, so why not continue? And I would say it's actually not natural. All, extinctions, well, I don't know about all. It's always a good idea to avoid generalized sentences. Just also don't say all. You can say many, most, a lot, etc. So most extinctions have been due to, human intervention, or lack thereof, actually. Human, let's say, problems caused by people. Okay. I think this would actually be much better over here. And this could be the second one, and this could be the third one. Looks nicer that way, personally, to me. Okay, now I'm happy. And how much time did that took me about, let me see, I cannot see the timer here. Oh, that's 12 minutes. Okay, well, a lot of that was yapping, so. But there we go. So now what do I need to do? I have to write my introduction. So what is the theme or topic here? Extinction or endangerment of animal species. So you just write something based on that. Maybe something like this, for example. Although planet Earth is rich in terms of, or is rich with, mind-boggling. Mind-boggling is a bit of a casual term, so I wouldn't use that in an essay, which is supposed to be more formal. You can say rich with, or, teeming. Yeah. This is a nice phrase. You don't see people use this phrase a lot because we just say rich with. It's easier, but teeming with. That's a nice, it's TEE, by the way, not TEAM. That's another word. Although planet Earth is teeming with an unthinkable amount of variety or diversity in terms of flora and fauna, although planet Earth is teeming with a variety of flora and fauna. Let me see. Although planet Earth is teeming with a variety, or we can say with an unimaginable, unimaginable variety of flora and fauna. Many species are at risk, are not just currently at risk of extinction, but quite a few have already been lost to us forever. It is important to understand that this, the endangerment and extinction of animal species, or just say animals or wildlife, it is important to understand that the endangerment and extinction of wildlife is something that, it's critical. It needs to be prevented at all costs. in order to, maybe you don't have to actually write this much, so I'm just going to stop myself here because I have a tendency to write a lot. It's important to understand that the endangerment and extinction of wildlife is something that needs to be prevented at all costs. Okay, there we go. And then I've got my first main idea. You can use either, by the way, humanity, the human race. It's the same, just different ways of referring to the same thing. So here, maybe I'll use the human race because I like the phrase, ultimately it is in humanity's best interest. So I'm going to take that and I'll put that over here. And then I've got my first idea, which is most extinct. Okay, great. The human race has a responsibility toward other species on the planet. This is, let's say, most extinctions have been due to problems caused by humans. When looking at past trends, it is clear that an extinction event, well, I mean, dinosaurs are, of course, different. That was because of the Ice Age, if I'm not wrong. But that's a one-off thing. Most extinctions, right? It's clear that most cases of extinctions have been, Haba. I accidentally wrote the German word because I'm studying. So, and B and V are so close together on the keyboard. Anyway, when looking at past trends, it is clear that most cases of extinctions, barring a few, of course, like dinosaurs, I mean, that's a different thing entirely. Most cases of extinctions have been the result of human intervention. You know, that's normally a positive term, so I don't want to use that. If I say problems, then it's a bit confusing sounding. Most cases of human extinctions have been the result of human activity, unwanted, undesirable human activity, leading to, habitat loss, destruction, and loss, or causing some kind of, mostly it's habitat loss that causes these animals to die, but it's also often diseases. So leading to diseases, and or habitat destruction and loss for such animals, right? So when looking at past trends, it becomes clear, a nicer word, becomes clear that most cases of extinctions have been the result of undesirable human activity leading to diseases and or habitat destruction and loss for such animals. No, because I can't use the word such in this case. Leading to diseases, leading to animals contracting diseases, and or is actually fine to use because I don't just mean both happening together, which would be and, or is like either one. So leading to not just, that's a nicer, not just animals contracting diseases, but also causing or resulting in, causing habitat destruction and loss is the same thing. So there we go, practically. So while looking at past trends, it becomes clear that most cases of extinctions have been the result of undesirable human activity, leading to causing animals to not just, I don't like this phrase, causing animals to, there we go, not just contract diseases, but also lose their habitats through destruction. That's much nicer. You see how many times I worked on that one sentence? And when you compare that to the average test taker, what they do is they write their sentence, then that's it. Then they write their next sentence. They don't really edit their draft. So that's something that you really need to, get in your head, that I cannot just submit my first draft. I have to read my sentence. I have to see, how can I make it better? Now, you might think, well, in the exam, I'm not going to have that much time. And of course, in the exam, you don't have like tons of time, but you have enough time. The thing is that right now, in that pre exam phrase, you really want to, practice doing things this way, because then, it's just like exercise. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get and the easier it becomes, right? So, they lose. My first sentence is done. Our intelligence should be used to protect. Okay. Let's see. When the human race is responsible to us based on time, looking at past trends, it becomes clear that, oops, why is the word responsibility in bold? Past trends become clear. Instead of using our intelligence, intelligence and power, right, over the planet, instead of abusing our intelligence and power over the planet, abusing our intelligence and power over the planet to cause harm, we should instead focus on protecting and preserving what is left of our, flora and fauna. I've already used flora and fauna. I don't want to use that again. What is left of our wildlife, and make it possible for them to not just survive and thrive, survive, but also thrive. In fact, many conservation programs have been a raging success, have been wildly successful, such as those in China, such as the what's that thing called? It's not a polar bear, it's a panda, right? Such as the panda preservation, conservation. Oops, yeah, I've already used the word conservation. Let me use another term. Many conservation programs, such as the ones for pandas, and leopards, pandas, tigers, and leopards, to name a few, right, have been wildly successful, which goes to show it is it's not just possible, but also relatively, it's not exactly difficult. It's not some, of course it's not like easy, but it's, if you just put in a little bit of effort, it's possible. So, in fact, many conservation programs, such as the ones for pandas, tigers, and leopards, to name but a few, have been wildly successful, which goes to show that it is not just possible, but also relatively easy to, to protect them and help increase their populations. There we go. Hence, and then the first sentence, the human race has responsibility. Okay, as the apex, people are often called the apex predator, because we, again, we're so smart apparently. Okay, hence, the human race has responsibility over the people. Maybe how can I rephrase this? Hence, people, or we, you can use either word, that's fine. People, have to act as shepherds, not as destroyers. People need to a shepherd is someone who protects and guides and, takes care of the flock. So people, if people were to act as shepherds of the planet, and not, like hunters, we're causing so much damage, hunting, killing, causing damage. So people need to act as shepherds of the planet, not hunters. And then, because I've already used the phrase the human race, I'm going to use humanity. Oops, not this one, right over here. Ultimately, it is beneficial, blah, blah, blah. Put that over here. Okay, ultimately, it is in humanity's best interest. Humanity's best interest. There we go. continued survival of as much wildlife as possible. This is largely, what that was weird, mistype. This is largely due to the fact that the food chain is an extremely sensitive and delicate. I cannot emphasize that it's extremely delicate. It's an extremely cycle. With even the tiniest being playing, an important role. Destabilizing this chain will cause major repercussions for all life, especially human life on the planet. I guess I kind of spoke about this already, so I don't know. Maybe I need to change the idea or something. Let me see. Let me read that. It's always important. Read your work over and over and over. Okay, so ultimately, it is in humanity's best interests to ensure the continued survival of as much wildlife as possible. This is largely due to the fact that the food chain is an extremely sensitive and delicate cycle, with even the tiniest being playing an important role. Destabilizing this chain will cause major repercussions for all life, especially human life on the planet. We already see this in where do we see this? Like, for example, there's a lot of fishing going on in the Pacific, especially, well, I won't name countries, but there are some countries which are, covertly doing a lot of fishing, and they're just, I mean, there's not going to be any fish anymore. I mean, that's a different thing. How does that tie into this? Temperature changes, destruction of other animals. I've kind of spoken about both these things already. Let me just drag this further on the planet. Avoiding such a situation, avoiding such a catastrophe means needing to first preserve the delicate balance that exists in nature, which necessarily means protecting and promoting wildlife welfare, the welfare of wildlife. And, yeah. There we go. So, extremely sensitive and delicate cycle means needing to, I don't need that, means first preserving the balance that exists, which in turn also means, protecting and promoting the welfare of wildlife. It also needs to be said that, we're not the only forms of life that have a right to exist, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like, oh, I don't like this animal or that animal, but I mean, who are you to decide that only you get to live? It's a bit selfish, isn't it? So I've already used the term ultimately, so I don't know if I can use that here again. That wouldn't look very nice. So, and you'll notice that I don't necessarily use terms like in addition, most importantly, first, secondly, thirdly, things like that. I'm not saying you cannot use them, but often what happens is when people use these terms, their text looks very, very mechanical. It doesn't seem like it has a smooth flow. It doesn't seem very natural, right? So that is another thing that, especially at the higher level, you need to be aware of. Like, and this is like going on a tangent, but so I'm learning a bunch of languages, but more specifically, I'm doing C1 German, and there's only 6 levels: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So C1 is like the 5th level, pretty high. And on the IELTS, if you need a 7, that is C1. That is a fairly high level. So at a high level, you need to, like I said, be conscious of things like And if you look at the marking criteria, you will see the same thing. You have to be careful to ensure that your text doesn't look mechanical. And so that reminds me, this just earlier today, we had a lesson where we had to write a short text. And this one person's text was like she used all of the terms, the in German it's called Redemittel. What do we call it here? It's the formulaic things, just exactly like these transitions that we were talking about. In addition, comma, firstly, secondly, thirdly, these things. Now, using some of them is natural, perfectly fine, but if you use that in at the very beginning, especially at the beginning of every single sentence, that's going to like stick out like a sore thumb. And so that's exactly what this other student in my class did. Is she used all of these really nice, good, advanced C1 phrases. So she was, using those phrases, but the problem was that the text looked very mechanical, unnatural. Like you're adding that for the sake of adding it. So that is one thing that you might think, oh, I'm using, like specific phrases, advanced vocabulary, but it's also important that it flows together naturally. It provides a smooth, easy reading experience as well. And again, I mean, obviously it's a good thing to have, a good vocabulary, but again, using it is crucial. Okay, so anyway, avoiding such a classroom. Okay. Every form of life deserves to exist. Species chauvinism. In fact, people need to, in order to be able to do this, people need to get rid of their species chauvinism. People think that, oh, humans are the best and we're the most important. Everybody else can just go to hell. I've seen that attitude quite a lot. It's not a very good attitude to have. Let's just put it that way. So, in order to be able to do this, people, humanity, we as a society, I don't like the word people here. I think humanity might be better. Humans need to get rid of their, species chauvinism and recognize and respect the fact that every form of life, whether big or small, tiny or massive, has its own right, has a right to exist on planet Earth. I mean, a lot of people don't respect that. They think this is my planet. Every other animal, bird, whatever is just an inconvenience. I see that a lot. If you're that unhappy, then, talk to Elon Musk and go to Mars. In order to be able to do this, humans need to get rid of their species chauvinism, recognize and respect the fact that every form of life, whether tiny or massive, has an innate right to exist on planet Earth, has an innate right, has as much of an innate right as the human to exist on it. But that's maybe a little bit too big. Let's just, keep it short and simple. Okay, so what else? Okay, so then the last thing I need to do, right. Maintaining this balance will lead to, a sustainable that, serves every form of life, whether human or animal. Maintaining this balance, all the wildlife and everything, will lead to a sustainable and healthy planet that serves every form of life, whether human or animal. Okay, and then finally, in conclusion, it is, and this is fine, like sometimes you have to use these specific phrases, right? But sometimes, not like every single sentence, firstly, secondly, in conclusion, in addition, furthermore, moreover. It's okay to use, but if you're looking for a higher score, like 7.5, 8, especially 9, there you want to display a lot more smoothness. Okay, so in conclusion, it's evident that it is crucial to have I already used the term crucial. I probably have somewhere, but using words twice or thrice is not the problem. But like I said a few minutes ago, in your introduction, your main ideas, and your conclusion. There, you want to avoid as much as possible repeating or copying the exact same words or phrases, just because that's naturally where a reader's attention is, drawn to. So there, you want to clean things up a bit. It's evident that yeah, what was I saying? It is crucial. It is. Oops. It to support the continued existence of all life forms on the planet because we are responsible for this and it benefits because not only are we responsible for their welfare, but it also in the end just benefits humanity, but it also ends up supporting the continued existence of humanity, but I've already used that phrase. Let me read my sentence once more. It is evident that it is crucial to support the continued existence of all life forms on the planet because not only are we responsible for their welfare, not only are we by virtue of our, superiority, superior intelligence, because not only are we responsible for, but doing so also ends up, ensuring the continued existence. Okay, well, why am I saying the same phrase? But also doing so also ends up ensuring that we still have a planet to live on. If we continue to express a lack of concern, if we continue to express a lack of interest or concern in welfare of animals, it could cause life altering. It could cause, let's say, it could, ultimately cause the planet, cause the Earth to, stop supporting all forms of life. The Earth, space over here. Okay. Great. Okay. And that's 74. That's a little bit large for a conclusion. That's fine. So all in all, this essay is 421 words, and you can see the introduction over here. And then this is body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and the conclusion. You can also just click on your screen to pause it so you can, read this carefully. And that's that. That was a nice, fun question. And in case you have any comments or questions, feedback, whatever, just drop a comment down below. And don't forget to like the video in case you found it useful. You can also, share this with other people that you know are preparing for the exam. And we have tons of videos, so don't forget to check all of those out as well, especially the ones for speaking. I'm sure you'll find those helpful. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.